Hey guys, get ready with me today as I talk about what it's like moving to another country while transitioning. I know that this isn't a channel where I typically talk about transition or my transition in particular, so if this is something you don't want to hear, maybe it's not for you, but if you're interested, even just a little bit, stick with me, I've got a lot to share. Hey everybody, it is your girl, Ayla Mode, and as you know, I am moving to Australia, and I have now been in transition for 4 years. Kara confirms, I think it's 4 years. And with that comes a lot of figuring things out medically and how am I going to get my hormones. And on that note, moving to Australia is no different. Getting hormones here is at least a little different than it's going to be in Australia. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be going to a doctor and everything else, but for example, I take estradiol valerate, which is an injection, and as far as I'm aware, Australia is not quite the same. Australia actually is not too keen on or familiar with using estrogen as an injectable medication, but for me on my journey, it's just been something that I feel a lot more comfortable with. Being able to inject my estrogen means that it's a lot easier on my liver, means that I have a reduced risk of blood clots, which is a huge help on the plane, but also the way that my body metabolizes estradiol valerate really is visible in my body. I went from having an A cup when I first started trying to use estradiol valerate to going to a C cup the second time I picked it up after trying patches in between. Now, in terms of moving, I need to make sure that the medication that I like to take is available, as well as that doctors are comfortable actually prescribing the medication that I want to take. So if you're planning to move, you definitely want to make sure of that. Fortunately, Australia is a pretty progressive country, but all things being considered, they're not very familiar or comfortable with using estradiol valerate as a method for people to transition. It doesn't mean that it's impossible to get, but I do need to find compounding pharmacies, which are specific pharmacies that specifically make the medication that maybe isn't always available for everyone or isn't something that they use a lot. So I need to find a compounding pharmacy who can supply it, as well as a doctor who's comfortable enough to prescribe since they're not familiar with it. So thankfully, talking with my doctor, I got papers on what my blood tests have been like and my hormone levels, so that way there's a point of reference for the doctors in Australia to have when tracking me in the future, and it can help vouch for the impact and value that estradiol valerate has in my life. Now, don't mind me as I put a little tape on my face. Honestly, ever since I found out about masking like your eyeshadow or your eyeliner, it's just been the easiest way to do it. Jumping back to talk about transition with travel though, you want to make sure that wherever you're going is a safe and comfortable place. Thankfully, as I said, Australia is pretty welcoming, but something that I did have to consider was when trying to get to Australia, one of the stop-offs in a lot of the flights that we were looking for to get there was Doha, and unfortunately, I'm just not really, it's not a very safe place for trans people. It's illegal to be trans there. Now, does that necessarily mean that they're going to come after me, especially on a connecting flight? I don't want to take that chance. Now, some other things to pay attention to that I really had to consider was that when you're traveling, you need to have the right paperwork. This means that going on the flight, I need to have papers that say I'm allowed to carry estrogen. In a lot of parts of the world, estrogen and testosterone are controlled substances, which means that if I didn't have the right paperwork, I could get in a lot of trouble. I also needed papers that said that I'm allowed to carry needles, because if I don't have the right paperwork, it looks very suspicious and just is straight up prohibited to be carrying an object like a needle with you. So you need good reasoning for it. What these papers look like is a letter from my doctor stating the medication, the reason I'm taking the medication, and the fact that I need to be carrying needles to administer this medication for my well-being. As far as I know, that, as well as a copy of the prescription, as well as all of your medications, need to be in clearly labeled bottles, or just need to be clearly labeled in general. This just helps let any part of the process during travel know, like anyone that you're dealing with in travel, it just helps let them know that you have a reason to be carrying this medication. You're not just trying to traffic a controlled substance as well as carry a prohibited item without due reason. So just do your due diligence and get the papers. Can I take a moment to say that KVD Makeup has removed or discontinued the lash liner? I am honestly so heartbroken because I love this product so much. It gives that awesome edge that you just really would not find elsewhere. I guess I could do this with pencil, but like I've never achieved the bold look that you really get when this hits the lower eye. Like, tell me this isn't flippin' awesome. Like, oh my goodness. Now, just to darken up the edges before I really go in there. So, just to kind of recap everything that we've gone over so far, I've talked about when going to another country, checking on what the situation is like over there in terms of like, are they accepting? How do they feel about trans people? Is there access to the medication you want and need? And what is it like getting a doctor there? I've talked a bit about what it's like taking medications on a plane with you. And I've talked about the papers and such that you need from a doctor. The fact that I can get papers on what my hormones have been like over the time that I've been transitioning, so that way new doctors have a point of reference, but also the fact that I need papers for allowing me to carry the medication on a plane with me. I'm trying to think, and I'm not quite sure if there's anything else that I need to cover or that I've yet considered. Oh, another good thing that I've actually picked up that is worth noting is when I was looking at TSA, and like, please do your own research, don't just take my word for it, but when I was checking with the TSA, I'm only allowed to bring 3 months worth of hormones with me. My doctor at first was trying to give me 6 months because they wanted to make this process as easy as possible for me, and that I didn't have to rely on hitting the ground and finding a doctor right away, which I greatly love. But my doctor didn't necessarily know that I can't just walk onto a plane with 6 months worth of medication. I probably would have paid for it and I probably would not have gotten in trouble, but they would have thrown out 3 months that I couldn't take. But that being said, who knows? Depending on which country you go to or are in, you probably could get in trouble. So don't put yourself in that position. Do the homework for yourself and make sure that you know what you're allowed to take. Because I almost made either an expensive error or a very bad error. Either one that I'm not willing to take. All things considered, I'm pretty excited and looking forward to seeing what life is like in a new country, especially as a trans woman. And I'm excited for you guys to come on this journey with me. For those of you who have been following my other channel, Ayla Mode, which will be down below, thank you so much for following me on this process and seeing how far I've come. And I'm really grateful for the support that I've had through the years. It's honestly just been really cool to document my transition and see growth for myself. But to have people following me along on the journey and people giving me support and shout outs all the way along. Jalen, I see you. I love you so much and thank you for the love and support that you give me. And everyone else, from people that I've known in my personal life to people that have joined me on my process as I started doing videos. I'm ecstatic to be doing videos now, and it's so cool to be at a point where Kira and I are now doing weekly videos. Like, this is so cool. And I'm excited to kind of have a fresh view on things. Like, obviously I'm gonna get to Australia and it will be completely foreign to me. Sure, it's another English-speaking Commonwealth country, but at the end of the day, it's more of a tropical island, and I like things a little dark, which Canada has plenty of, and Australia is a little more bright, sunny, and monsoonish rain, and it never gets cold. They don't have winter like we do. So I'm excited to see what it's like. I always love being able to take the tape off and see those crisp edges. It feels right. And now the piece de la resistance, always mascara. So, I've shared a lot about what it's like in my journey transitioning. I'm curious if there's any other trans girls out there who have traveled or are looking to travel. Share some of your experiences down below in the comments. If you have any questions, also leave those in the comments. I don't know if I can answer everything, but I might have an idea of where to look if you have something like a question that I don't know. But yeah, please share with me. I'd love to hear more. I've also taken my pigtails out, as I'm sure you can tell, and I'm going to put my hair in a messy bun. And if you do not know this method of messy bun, it is like my absolute favorite. I take a nice coil hair tie, or something like a little bigger, maybe even like a scrunchie would probably work. Ideally, you just want a ponytail to be kind of loose, like you want the ponytail holder to be kind of loose. And what we're gonna do is we want to cascade the hair around that ponytail. We're gonna take another hair tie and we want to gather all the hair around that scrunchie or coil or whatever it is you're using and pull it over. and make that one tight. You want it to be tight enough that it holds under the coil, so that coil or scrunchie gives volume to the bun, and then you can kind of just pull the bun out and make it as messy or big and dramatic as you want. Then I kind of put all my hair back again. You want to make sure that all those loose bits are together in one pony, and then I separate it. Twist the separated portions, and now wrap it around that hair tie at the base. And then you want to take bobby pins, and you want to pin those pieces back and out of the way. There we are. I love this look so much. Super cute and imperfect looking, and that's as much as I like my makeup to be perfect, I like my hair and other bits to be a little frazzled. I don't want to look 100% perfect, or else that just defeats the whole grunge ethic, or I guess. Anyhow, thank you so much for following along. Once again, if you have any experiences or any questions, anything that you want to share, I'd love to hear from you down below, and I know Kira will too. Thank you so much for following along with all of this, and yeah, let's see what transition in life is like for me in Australia. Adios everyone, and I will talk to you soon. Ciao!